Alright, so we should write this on page 39 of our notebook, which is on the left side of the notebook. And I have the lines, the blue lines, the red lines here set up to look like your notebook. Do not draw these lines on your notebook. It should already be there. Okay, so the title of these notes is, let's just write the name of the assignment, which is Flip Notes. Properties of matter. I think you have more space than I do, but I'm going to go over the red line. Alright, so just like last time, we're going to begin with defining some words. So on the next line, we're going to write a V over here for vocabulary word. So the first word is property. And a property is a description of a thing. So I try to simplify the definition for you guys. The description of a thing, that's what property is. And I'm going to give an example. I'm going to EX, but just for the first time, I want you guys to know that it stands for example is, let's say, the hardness of a rock. So in this case, the hardness is a property of the rock. So it's a description of something about the rock. Okay. So let's skip a line. I'm going to draw a line, but you guys skip it on your paper. The next word is the actual one we're going to be saying a lot, which is physical property. And physical is a word that means able to touch. So, or like something that you can, something that you can touch. A physical property is something that can be observed without changing what the object is made out of. So let's write that. You have way more space than I did. I drew these red lines way too close. So physical property is something that can be observed. An observer means you're just looking at it or seeing what is happening without changing what the object is made out of. And an example of this will be, I'm going to write EX for example, the color of an object. So in this case, the color is something that you can observe for an object without changing it to something completely different. Okay, we're going to skip another line. I'm going to draw it on mine. The next word is going to be the opposite of physical property, which is chemical property. So chemical kind of refers to things like atoms and elements, like what is something made out of. The physical properties is something that can be observed. This is an R. It can be observed by changing what the object is made out of. So it's like pretty much the opposite of physical property. And an example of this would be how well something burns. So for example, if you were testing how well paper burns, and you burn a piece of paper, you return to ash, which is not the paper anymore. It's made out of something completely different. Okay, and finally, the very last part is what we're going to be learning about tomorrow, which is another word, solubility. This means Basically how well something dissolves. And dissolves is a word that means how well like a solid kind of breaks down into liquid. And to describe the parts of solubility, I'm going to draw a picture of making sweet tea. So I would suggest you wait for me to finish my drawing first before you start yourself, so you know how much space you need. So I got sugar, a container, a cup with tea inside. The sugar is gonna pour out. Okay, and afterwards, I'm drawing an arrow to mean afterwards we're going to have the cup magically got smaller, guys. We're gonna have sweet tea. Alright, so solubility is how well something dissolves. So for example, if we're doing an experiment, this might be how well does the sugar dissolve in tea. But there are parts to solubility when you're dissolving something, and the parts are something called a solute, which is the sugar in this case. There's something called the solvent, which is the tea. There is a part called the solution. And lastly, we're just going to define these words down here. So solute is the thing being dissolved, in this case the sugar. Next, solvent. It is a tea in this case. So what the solute is being dissolved in. Which is, in this case, the solvent is the tea, and the solute is the sugar. The very, very last thing is a solution. The solution is not the answer to the problem in this case. It is a solute and solvent together. So after you melt the sugar into the tea, you have the sweet tea, which is the solution. Alright, so go back and feel free to pause anytime or go back to this. Do not rush it. Please write neatly. All right, thank you for your first flip notes assignment. Hit like, comment, and subscribe.